also record. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Meeting is
did you
being.
hear that?
Oh, that was really trippy.
um,
Um, and then I'll record it also on mine, and you record it on yours, and then you use the Zoom track as like a thing to line up the audio. So then I don't have you anymore. I've lost you again. I've lost you again. I've got you now, I think.
yeah, you got me.
Um,
All
yeah,
right.
so record it in Ableton or something with your mic, and I'm gonna record it in Ableton in my mic. I'll send you that recording, and then you can get the two vocal recordings, and then use the Zoom recording to just line up my thing. Because once you get mine, you won't see yours, so it'll be hard to line it up with yours if you don't have the Zoom
Yeah,
recording as well. That makes sense?
that makes sense. All right, sweet. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I've got my audio going to Logic, and you've got yours going to Ableton, which is pretty much all we really need. And then this extra like Zoom recording, we just have it as a backup.
It's a backup, and it also like if it, without oh wait, hold on. This is not recording yet. It's a backup, and also yeah, like you if you just have my voice and your voice, then if we ever talk over each other or there's some kind of thing, it'll be impossible to like if you don't have the Zoom recording to line it up, it'll get really
Yeah,
confusing.
for sure. And I'm going to put the headphones on, so that I might have to take them off at some point, but so there's no feedback within this mic.
There you go.
I'm gonna chuck it on. Turn this off. And let's see, I might have to change a setting. Oh, I'm already on the Sapphire. Yeah, I was hoping that I could. Let me see. No, it's going really slow. I've been in a real bad method of like having 1 gazillion tabs open recently and doing a lot of like Discog stuff, and it's just slows down my whole laptop. Understandably, she's having a hard time. But I'm just going to close everything. Patch base. All right. Close you. I think we are pretty good. Cool. And then I'm just going to, let's see about this. Oh, yeah, so, well, that's still clicking out. Let's see. Yeah, well, we started with logistics. I'm reading a, oh, let's see, some microphone speaker. Sapphire.
Oh, it's all it is, always, my dude.
Oh, can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Sapphire, so that should be coming out of. Should be able to hear you. Computer has it not. Oh, okay. You know what? Same system. Yeah, can you say something again?
Test 1 2.
Okay, I
Check
lost you.
check
So
check Roan.
to get built-in. I think that should come back now.
Check
That's
1 2 3. Check
I can't
check.
go through the house system. I've just added this interface, like this. I don't know. You can see, like, all like it's pretty fucking nutty. It's like the most gear I've had and most complicated shit I've ever had to deal with. But yeah, I need
Just
to like.
convolute your whole situation.
What's that?
Gear gets so complicated at a certain level. And
Yeah,
like the routing shit between like computers and digital audio interfaces, and it's great. We love it. We love it.
yeah. Okay, let me see my. Do you use a Mac?
I got a PC.
Oh, okay, yeah, um, my Finder, which is like I guess just the the little Apple logo or the little Windows logo thing is freaking out. So I'm just refreshing that. Of course, it wants to do it. Oh, getting the spinning ball there. Yeah, but look, I don't see why we can't just get started and then we'll figure it out as we go. It doesn't need to like be perfect. It's just like a little, almost like a little test it because I've actually never done it this way.
Yeah, totally. Do you have everything kind of, I mean, is
Yeah,
it,
yeah. Well,
you got
the
it
idea
coming
is
through?
like, so go again.
Yeah, it's not going to probably, you getting any feedback issues with the mic, or is it just because
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
I don't think so, because I don't think you're going to get any feedback because, I mean, you'll hear my voice coming through the speakers, but
Yeah,
that won't be an issue. It'll actually, yeah, that'll actually probably make it easier when you put the thing together. So you just
yeah. I think
plop
it'll
it
be
in there.
alright.
And
Mm,
lovely. Oh man, letting the coffee hit in here.
yeah, what did you get up to yesterday?
I was hanging out. I was just dealing with computer stuff and banking and just catching up on things that have been hard to hard to keep track of while you're,
Yeah,
moving yourself all over the world. Just been going crazy the past months. Uh, just so much travel, more than I really want to be doing, but it's been good. It's
yeah.
been
Because
really good.
had you planned to be had you planned to be in uh, France already?
Yeah, well, I had my plan was to come. Um, this was all, yeah. I'm like at the end of like a 2 month plan because I was in France and then I needed to get a visa to be able to stay there. So I went back. I had to go back to New York anyway to do sustain, and then I
Mm,
stayed there longer because I was told I need to wait because I did the visa appointment, and then they said it was going to take a month to get the visa. So I was there, got the visa, came back to France, and then I just basically immediately drove up. My mom and I got a car, and so I drove up to Ireland, took the ferry across, which was really cool, and then came up, and I'm here with my dad, and I'm just hanging with him and catching up and stuff, and then I'm getting all my stuff is here, so my records and my music gear and everything
wow.
are because he moved over with a shipping container, so he threw my shit in there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put as much as I can in the car and then drive it back to France. And then the next day, I'm going to drive down and pick up Jordan Teleself
All
in
right.
Barcelona, where
Yeah.
his
Cool.
girlfriend is, and him are.
Oh
They've
yeah.
been traveling and they have like a bunch of stuff and can't really fly. So I'm going to go and pick him up in Barcelona and then drive back. And then he's going to be there. I'm going to be there. And we're going to like November 8th is going to be a Monday. We'll be back. And just like, that's the, that's the end of the whole trip and the beginning of the new, a good 3 months. We're going to just be in basically artist residency mode, and just really get to work. And both
Mm,
of us are really on the same page. And I'm really excited, man. It's just, but it's been such a, there was so many things that could have gone wrong in this, getting COVID somewhere or whatever, and
right.
or whatever, just couldn't get the visa to come through. Who knows? So it's been by hook or by crook, but I'm really, really grateful. Um, but yeah, so I just got up. I was up last night. I'm kind of just a little bit, I don't know. I'm just in a funny adjusting to it. There's just so many page turns, Jamie. So many. I mean, I'm sure for you too. Year has been so huge, and I'm just like trying to just settle into it and embrace it.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
even even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's like the old patterns come up and they're like, hey, like you're changing so much right now. Like you should really be worrying about something. Your ego kind of gets attached to how it's been used to being, even if it hasn't really worked for you in the past. And so I'm just noticing that in a funny way of just like entering a new relationship dynamic, which is so nice, and then having to deal with like a couple months of long distance because she's going to come over and spend some time in France in January, and then finding myself really easily falling back into the pattern of like, just how I would do a long distance relationship in the past and be calling every day, just kind of like really letting myself give more attention and energy to the dynamic than is really healthy, you know, as opposed to just be doing my thing and kind of in my own zone and we connect because you can't really like the long distance thing. I mean, I don't, you've probably been in one, but you can't talk for more than like, I mean, an hour is a long time to talk if you haven't seen somebody or done anything with them. You know what I mean? You just don't have a lot to talk about.
Mm.
So so if you don't be careful, it's really easy to just kind of, you just like, we're talking every day and da da da. And it's like, you basically just piss in the pot, as opposed to like, I'm doing my thing, excited to see how you've been. What's your day like? Cool. Sounds good. I did this. Just staying focused on your thing and letting her like, so anyways, and just old patterns and just everything at once, as it always is in life. So I had a like a mini kind of melt last night, and after we talked on the phone, it wasn't even like it wasn't anything bad. It was just like just feeling all these feelings, and I'm letting it all come up, and I was just wailing out here, I haven't let myself like really go like that in a while, and then I called my sister, and she told me that same thing. It's like, dude, just do you, man. Just do you. Focus on being busy. Focus on your thing. Focus on your projects. Accept that, like, because when things really change, and you have that kind of ego death experience, it's almost that you're in a sort of like a purgatory setting, where it's like things could go so many ways, and you have the fear can creep in and the doubt can creep in, being like, oh, but maybe you just made it all up in your head and you're actually just crazy and nobody wants to love you and da, 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 all this like bullshit, especially at 3:30 in the morning. And
That's it.
and I was just like, I'm not doing it this time, I hear you. I hear your voice. I'm sure you're trying to keep me safe on a certain level, because that's sort of maybe what kept me safe in the past. But I'm not doing it this time. I, I'm, that's the old me, you know. So I'm really trying to like let it die, let it decompose and compost and
Yeah, just accepting and acknowledging imposter syndrome, just
in
having a
all
laugh at it.
aspects. In all aspects, yeah, imposter of who you are, not in just, yeah, in all aspects. Am I really this
Yeah.
person? And acknowledging your ego. I want to
Mhm.
just talk and make how I want to sound. Like this girl is so good for me because she just like, I'll talk, and I'll have this big soliloquy. I love to hear myself think and da 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 da
Haha,
da da. And I talk, and
same
then
way.
she's like, uh-huh, and you're just like, oh. And just by not going into it and being like, oh yeah, I totally relate, and validating and validating and validating endlessly, and you're so
Uh,
smart and you're so this, she's just like, yeah, well, that's it's
yeah.
like, oh, you know
That's great. That's really
like
great.
maybe I don't need to be out here like proving my point and you
Mm.
know yeah, look at me, I'm Mr. Intelligent, da 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 da, whatever.
It's the motherfucking dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
Exactly.
when you were talking before, I ran. I've just been well. I'm still in the process of constantly cleaning and reassembling and stuff here. It's a bit of a mess right now, but this one popped out. Um, I hadn't seen it in a while. It just sort of reminded me a little bit. You see that one?
Such a good one. I should reread it. And what's funny about that is literally me and her were texting yesterday,
Yeah.
and she said like, yeah, she was like, I'm always changing and metamorphosizing. She said that yesterday.
Wow. There's
So
another little ding ding. Carl Jung's like,
ding.
how's your
I
voice?
know, I know. Entanglement theories is real.
Oh, what's entanglement theory? I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Like I've heard of the
Oh, I
words,
don't know
but
anything about it either. I just think about becoming entangled with people, and you start like yesterday. I just I was doing something and I was using my phone, and then I heard my phone start beeping in my pocket. And I looked and I was like accidentally calling. I was like butt dialing her, but it's
oh
six
no.
hours. So I was like it was like 6 hours in difference. So I'm like, oh shit. I thought it was like really early in the morning or something. And then my WhatsApp was like bugging out. It was glitched. I couldn't like end
Oh
the
no.
call. I was like trying to end the call and I like opened, so I
Yeah.
force quit it. And then I texted her and was like, "Hey, yo, sorry, I just like butt dialed you. My bad." And she said, "I literally like just woke up naturally because it's 8:30 in the morning and
Right.
like picked up my phone and then like you called." Like
Wow.
in that order. Just like opened up, picked up the phone and then you called it. And I was like,
Kind of like
"Okay,
it's kind of
we're
like
synced up."
yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's almost become like a bit of a chestnut, that thing of like, well, you think of someone and that you haven't talked to in a long time, and then you open your phone and they've texted you. I think there's got to be something to it, you know, like that sort
Of
of
course there is.
telekinesis. Um, yeah, I've heard a lot
Some
of
kind
stuff
of
about that in the past.
some kind of quantum situation we're probably on the brink of understanding, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. Well, have you heard about the Akashic records?
I have heard of it. I am not really familiar with what it is at all.
Yeah, same here really. I did sort of maybe watch one YouTube video, and I did, oh no, I didn't even do that. I just read because someone had mentioned it in some video, and I looked up the Wikipedia page, but it's apparently the Akashic records is all the records of every thought and every idea that's ever been, and kind of supposedly sits within the ether. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that definitely exists. It's the log.
mm.
It's like a Bitcoin. It's the blockchain, basically.
Yeah, true,
Like the
true.
like the human blockchain. That exists. I thought it was like a Jewish thing. It was like a Kashik or I was like, but maybe it's
Yeah, I
related
think.
to Jewish mysticism or something like that, but who knows?
Well, I think aren't isn't like the Jewish religion like one of the oldest going
It's pretty old.
religions, or
Pretty old.
I'd say, or wasn't
Pretty
that? I think
noted.
that was who's the guy who parted the Red Seas at Moses?
Yeah.
Isn't
That was
he
a
the
while ago.
founder? I've sort of just been. I've never really been that well educated in this area of life, but I find myself like getting quite more and more interested in the theoretical aspects of religion, and just also as like I'm a total history nerd. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's like a lot of people that resonate with that sort of thing, but for me, like if I start to learn something about like my family's history or potentially the lineage, I will just go on a deep dive for days, and I will like be making big Trello lists and watching so many videos and trying to understand and like map it all out. And so I've been doing that a little bit recently. It's kind of interesting how all of the folklore and the mythology sort of coincides with like real history. Well, the documented history, you don't necessarily know if it's real, but um, find that kind of interesting. I think that isn't it's. Yeah, I think Moses has something to do with the birth of Judaism.
Definitely. He was definitely, I mean, it was Moses and Abraham and I don't know who, I can't remember who came first, but they were yeah, thinking about stuff a long time ago. And it's an interesting, I mean, it's beautiful mythology. I just how it's how I see it. I'm just like there's so many mythologies and way and creation stories, and there's something to be. There's little nuggets in each one that kind of
Absolutely.
none of them tell the whole story.
Yeah.
But you know, and you can get confused if you try to put them all together, and it's not how it's meant to be. They just are what they are. You know, they're just little. They're waypoints and maps, and um, you know, it's a you get to choose what resonates with you, and
Mm-hmm.
there's many paths to the top of the mountain. Some more windy than others,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that. But when's your birthday? It's coming up, right?
Yeah, it's like
Already that.
next week or something, which is totally weird. When is it? It's on the 11th.
Oh yeah.
So I think you mentioned the 8th before.
That's
Um,
gonna be a Thursday,
wow. I think
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
yeah,
Thursday,
8,
11th of November.
9, 10, 11. Yeah, Thursday. No, exactly 11th. Yeah, I thought you meant the 8th, but yeah, no, it is. I was born on a Wednesday. Um, so yeah, it's going to
Gone
be on Thursday.
all the way around the week twice.
Yes. Yeah, I
Three times
wonder.
or four. You're gonna be 20. What 20? You're gonna be 30. Where are you at?
29.
29. You're almost there.
I was in the middle of your two guesses. I think you guessed in your mind 28 and
Yeah.
then said 30. Yeah, smack
Yeah.
bang. Yeah, it's weird, man. It's definitely a strange time for for me right now. I'm sure a lot of the other
Totally.
like 90s babies are like freaking out. Either they just turned 20 or just turned 30, or that would be nice, just turned 20. Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd want to go back necessarily to 20. Hey, that's a good question. Would you go back to 20 if you could
No, I'm
rewind
I'm
10
I'm
years? You
ready.
just
I'm ready for 30, dude. I'm good.
right. Okay.
20s are great. Romanticized.
Mm-hmm.
Too much expectations on them. There's a
Mm,
really good
mm,
guy that there's a guy from Australia that
mm-hmm.
is
Boom. I know exactly who you're talking about. I stumbled upon that
Scully or
video that
Skrilly or something. Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
like
You know what
that.
I'm talking about. It's good. It's
I was
good.
almost, I saw the thumbnail and I was like, I'm not clicking that. This looks like
You
some
do, and then he's
clickbait.
good. He's good
And I did
actually.
it and I was like, actually, I agree with everything he's saying. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm
He's
99% sure that I'm talking about the same person as you, by the way. Just leave that 1% in
guy
just
with
in
the beanie,
case.
and he's from Australia
Yeah,
or New
that's
Zealand or
it.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he's
Yeah.
from Australia. Yeah, true. No, I don't know. I
But
think, yeah, I'm ready, probably. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's just going to be another day.
it will be
That
another day.
happens.
But there's also something. There's like a mental. I think acknowledging like phases in your life, and it doesn't necessarily coincide. I feel like for me, I feel like I've had this post college phase
Yeah.
that has kind of like run this narrative, and I totally feel that narrative having a lot of like up and like kind of plateauing, and then some conflict and drama and blah 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 blah, and then there was like a definite sense of like death, and now coinciding with a rebirth, or a death and then a rebirth, and it's like, okay, now I'm like, now I can like put that whole chunk to bed
Mm.
and engage with the next thing. Um, so I think that definitely happens. I mean, it happens for people at different times in their life, and some of those phases are longer than others. But I think for sure the early to mid 20s thing, there's a shift that starts happening around 27, 28, 29, like that, like kind of you feel like I want to, it's just you realize that life is not, forever. You don't have all the time in the world, and you kind of want to get, at least for me, get a little bit more. Like I haven't, if I look back on all the aspects of my life, relationships, the career wise, whatever, like creative practices, friendships, the places I've lived, I haven't really been able to like fully lock in to something, to like the thing. Not that it has to be super rigid or whatever, but just I've just been bouncing and this and that, and that's a part of the process. But I think at this point, it's like that urge has become less of like, I should really do that, and more like I have to do that. You know, I want to like just dedicate myself to what I'm really good at and what really is fulfilling to me, and like fuck everything else. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Target practice.
target practice, exactly. You get closer to it, and then all you care about is hitting bullseyes.
Because I think, isn't that the whole, um, I guess something that I feel like, you know, that's a lovely idea. And I think that when you do get to that thing and you're like, oh, this is it, like, how long does that really last? Because
Right,
that's also
exactly.
cyclical. Where it's like, oh, I made it, and now
Yeah, 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 you didn't.
it's always like more fun climbing the hill, isn't it, than when you're at the top of the hill. Well, the top of the hill's
Precisely.
dope, but
Yeah, but then you want to come down, and then you're like, well, now what?
yeah,
You know? Or you reach the next plateau, and you're like, now you're looking for something to push against. Precisely.
mm,
Because if you're not pushing against something, it's like it's a balance, trying to find the ease in life and appreciating the ease, not getting locked into the workaholic or locked into the um just I need to be productive right now, and I need to be pushing against something, because sometimes you actually don't. You need to be relaxing, and you need to be allowing yourself to rest and digest and process, and um, let those neural pathways settle in, or those muscles have a chance to adjust and grow.
Mm.
um because if you're constantly it's just yeah if you're constantly stressing your body or your mind with work and with problems and with exercise or with whatever it is that you're stressing it out with, you won't ever have the chance to. You'll just constantly kind of stay in the state, and you'll feel like you're doing something, but it's like being on a treadmill. You're not actually going anywhere. So
I kind of
there's,
felt,
yeah.
yeah. No, you go ahead.
No, I think just a lot of people get stuck in that. And then I think they start feeling like, well, what am I doing? It's like, it's very confusing, because you're like, I'm supposed to be getting somewhere. I'm working so hard. I'm working so hard. And yet, like, they look around and they haven't really, the real marker for like fulfillment and joy and happiness in their life doesn't correlate with maybe the marker in their life of financial success, or having the stuff, or having the apartment, or
Mm.
whatever. So obviously there's the flip side of that, which is like you just don't do shit and you're depressed, and
Yeah,
that's doesn't really work either. But
a great option. Yeah.
something in between, as always.
I kind of felt like that. I feel like I'm not going to be the your partner and go. I'm going to be like, I feel like that, because I feel like I had that same experience when I was drinking coffee. It was like being on a treadmill and just going nowhere. Like I was always like, oh, I would drink coffee. I used to drink like coffee. I haven't in about a year, and I'll
Yeah,
go
yeah.
about my work, and I'll be like da, 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 tap tap tap, and make and da, 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 and then I'll be like, I'd feel like, oh, I've done so much, and then like a couple hours gone by, and I've realized like I haven't actually done that much. I've just felt so. I've just been busy being busy. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Totally.
yeah, it's kind of can be a little bit of like that. I love that treadmill reference, like a little hamster. Let's feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess goal setting is something that is, outside of whether I'm stimulated in my work. Because I try like to have a good sleep and stuff, and I feel like nowadays, um, I guess it doesn't really necessarily fix the issue if I am or aren't drinking coffee, because it's still the same thing can come up. I can sort of feel like I'm busy being busy without doing that much. But I think when I have like a clear goal oriented system of like writing down and or just even crossing things off to complete in a day, it can feel a bit more gratifying. But then that's a meta analysis, and then on a more macro analysis is like, what really am I working towards? Because crossing off all these things is great, but then it's like, do I have a greater goal? And it's always something that I need to sort of check in on myself, and I don't always know whether that's the thing. Do you have a sort of a structure in how you set goals and achieve them, or don't, or what's your process in terms of bigger things?
Um, it. I think that if you don't have, if you don't, if you are not clear on what it is that's truly driving you, um, and this is something that comes over time. It's a deepening of a relationship with yourself to understand what it is that why you're doing what you're doing. You say, well, just do what makes you happy. Why does it make you happy? Why does it make you feel good? Like, and I think that it's a very simple process, because you basically just should follow what truly brings you joy. But that, of course, is loaded, because you it might take a while to know even what joy feels like. What does it feel like to be doing something that you enjoy doing? And I was blessed to have the opportunity to have a situation with my family in which I found something early on, which was music, that clearly brought me joy naturally. And my family supported that and fostered that, and I was able to continue and build a foundation on which it was clear that like doing this on a consistent basis made me really happy. um, and so as you get older, you know, then the question becomes more like, well, what about this? It's like it expands. You find your first thing that like gets you jazzed about something, right? And then it expands out from there. And it's it won't be until and this is something that comes, I think, later in your life, although you can understand it a little bit conceptually earlier. um, is like, how is what I'm doing going to be of service to the my community or my family or my world or my planet, and you know, the rings of external influence expanding out from there. um because I think without a sense of like almost like divine purpose to what it is that you're doing, like that is the only thing, that passion for it, you know, this feeling that like I have to do this and I'm having fun doing it and I love doing it, is the only thing that's going to get you through the inevitable drudgery and hardships that will come along your way as you pursue that path, you know. uh and like even like the ultra, you know, neo-lib capitalist people get that. I watched a video of Steve Jobs talking about this. You know, he was just, you know, clearly kind of like a spun out mind, you know, but he totally was on point in that, the concept of just like, I have this passion, I have this vision, I have this dream, and by any means necessary, I'm going to continue pursuing this because, you know, I love it and there's something driving me to go further down that path. And so to bring it back to the goal setting thing, like you have to have a point on your map, I think. And that point, you know, has got to come to be like, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, and not even to be like, oh, I'm gonna like influence all these people and I'm gonna become the most famous, you know, musician, or I'm gonna change the world with my ideas or with something, you know. It's like, who am I really going to affect? I have no idea. Me personally, I have no idea. You know, I think if I follow this feeling and follow this passion and this drive, that, because there's always going to be the voices that tell you what you're doing is not really, especially if it's something that isn't necessarily related with like a standard career. You're going to have so many voices from society and inside your own head saying like, well, does it really matter, and are you really good at that, of a musician, to, you know, dedicate all this and say that you're a musician or say that you're this because of the, you know, the imposter thingy and whatever. And it, you know, so you have to find that thing that inside you is like, no, shut the fuck up and keep doing it, because this isn't about you. I think you have to make it not about yourself, or else you'll quit eventually. um and you know, but it's about you and it isn't about you, because it's still you enjoying yourself doing it. I mean, last night I was up at, you know, 3:30 in the morning having a, you know, little purging meltdown. And honestly, I was running around and I was like, I went over and my dad has these 3 guitars here, and I just started like hitting the strings of the guitar, and literally, like, I mean, I was like cringing because it's so cliche or whatever at the moment, but I was, you know, I was like, the sound of the my dad's like an open D tuning is just like the sound of the guitar string really was helping me calm down. And I eventually picked up the guitar and like, you know, was doodling around while I'm like sobbing into it and stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is so dramatic and whatever, but fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's helping me and it's for me. I'm not playing this for anybody. I'm not like, this is about a personal moment of trying to use this thing to soothe myself. And in doing so, I can continue to be in a position of groundedness and being chill, and then I can allow that thing to come out more fully, and hopefully that will reach other people and help them, you know, find those feelings of peacefulness and joy and ecstasy and whatever else they find in my music, as well. So that's the long-winded answer to how you set goals. You just keep doing it, just keep going, and it's constantly like, I mean, I don't mean to ramble or whatever, but it's like, it's so, it's a shifting target, you know what I mean? And I'm always, there's always room for improvement, getting better at stuff, and learning how to organize your time. And but just on a practical level, it really helped me when I got like a Google Doc. I just have like a notes page where I have all of my things that I'm doing at the moment. I've got like Robin, and I've got like, there's my personal things, and I've got the Ronan stuff, and I've got Eternal Ocean stuff, and I've got my travel stuff, and anything that I really have to do is like in bold. And so for me, that's because I'll just go around in my head and be like, I have a million things to do, and I don't even know what they are. And then once you actually get on the list, you're like, oh, it's not that many actually. Every time it's the same thing. It's not that many, and I can kind of just do this one today. And if I do that one today, great. I'm moving the marker. It's not about, because you get everything done in one day. What do you do the next?
Absolutely.
Then you're fucked.
What do you do once you made it?
And then your productivity tomorrow, like, fuck, I'm now back to square zero. I gotta find something to do again.
That's so good. A lot to unpack there, and I've been making little mental markers. I'm noticing myself. Well, my ego maybe wanting to say, "Oh, say something," which is very interesting. I think it's like part of my human condition. I'm sure I'm not alone there, but I did remember when you'd said something about who is it for, and there's this really lovely quote that my flatmates, my housemate's boyfriend had said in passing a couple of months ago now, while we were in lockdown, and it's an adage about societies, and he basically had said that societies flourish when men plant seeds that they'll never see the fruit of. Just a nice one.
Totally. Yeah, when you get beyond yourself and you understand it's not about what you do in this lifetime, it's like Van Gogh. He wasn't painting for the people he wasn't painting for the people in Arles in the south of France and the rural towns he was in. They all hated it. Everyone who saw his art hated it. And he kept doing it regardless, because deep inside he knew that what he was doing was important and was going to do something for future generations. And you know what? He was right, and they were wrong.
Yeah, true. It's you very rarely get your flowers before you're gone. I think as an artist knowing.
Yeah.
I've got a video actually coming out about Van Gogh. I was over in New Zealand, and there was a exhibition. Got a lot of footage from there.
Sweet.
To cut that down, but yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Have you seen did you see the biopic with Willem Dafoe?
No, I haven't. It's
you got to see it, my friend.
Right.
At Eternity's Gate, one of the best films I've seen in a long time. I mean, I love Willem Dafoe, and he plays that part exquisitely. He looks so much like Van Gogh too. I mean, you have a similar kind of face shape and stuff. So
I always think of him as the baddie dad in Spider-Man.
In Spider-Man, I know.
I can't not. I always got to see him as that.
I know.
Oh, that's cool, man. Good. I've been watching a lot more movies. I've also fairly recently entered a relationship. I say fairly recently because the last 4 months of lockdown have kind of just been so slow and so fast at the same time. It's kind of weird, hard to get a handle of. But yeah, we've been watching. She's a movie buff, so she's got like all the suggestions. 99% of the ones that she'll choose are just like really nice. So I'll
Hell
have to
yeah.
add that to the list if she hasn't seen it. Or I'll just watch
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Oh, one other quote that sort of came out. I was talking to. Do you know the label Lumberjacks in Hell? You heard about that one?
No. No.
Got some cool releases. Kind of like disco, house, funk, soul. It's run by a guy over in Amsterdam called Marcel Vogel. We've had some chats some months ago now, and I remember him talking about his label, and I was like asking him some questions. He sort of took on a bit of sort of whether he knows it. Oh, he knows it, just like a bit of a mentor role. I think he likes to do that. And he had mentioned that when you know where the car is going, it will drive itself. Or if you
Hmm.
know where you're going, the car will drive itself. That was the thing he said, which I've been pondering on and sort of like tearing apart and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. You look, or in other words, you land where you look. You know, you land
Oh,
where you look, and you still have to jump.
oh, true. Actually,
Can't get out
that
of it.
gets me on to another one. It's, do you know Ramdas? Do you know
Yep.
Ramdas? Yeah, yeah. Love that guy. Definitely one of my
Oh man.
guru right now. But he was talking about, he had this whole big story, and I can't exactly remember. Maybe I will as we go along. But he said that when you keep one eye on something, you only have one eye to find the way. It's like, hmm,
Oh, bruh.
you know.
Love it. I love that shit.
So every
So easy
time,
to do. So fucking easy to
yeah,
do. So
yeah,
fucking easy to do, especially with shit. You keep one eye on the world. You keep one
yeah,
eye on another person. You keep one eye on your family. You
hmm,
keep one eye, and you do it out of love, or you do it
yeah,
out of
true,
fear. You do it out of a lot of things. But and you can convince yourself to keep doing it indefinitely, and you'll do it naturally. But if you do it, you're taking half, if not more, of your attention away from yourself.
hmm,
And in doing so, you're depriving yourself from the what you actually deserve, which is 100% of you always. Because then that way also that's the only way you're ever truly able to give to anyone else. You're not giving anything to anyone else by worrying about them.
hmm,
You're not giving anything to them besides reinforcing the fears and the realities that something may or may not happen that's in regards to who they are, or what kind of person they are, who they'll become, or what could happen to them if they do this, or if another person does this, and just a billion reality tunnels that don't exist yet
hmm,
but could. And so therefore you can endlessly get on the treadmill or the hamster wheel, more like,
hmm,
of just worry. And so like it's the same thing of, yeah, when you confidence, and you, because if you look where you land, and you can't look anywhere else. If you want to hit a baseball, you got to look at that baseball. If you look at the bird that flies over, if you look at the pretty girl in the bandstand, you're not going to hit the fucking ball.
hmm,
And then what is it for? Maybe the girl feels, oh, he looked at me, or the bird, is noticed, whatever it is. But you and your life and your ball was missed.
hmm.
So what was it for? You know?
Mm. That's deep, man. I don't say that often because like I'm not, I don't know, like I guess maybe I'm just not like yeah, having enough conversations with people that blow my lid enough. But yeah, that's deep, bro. That's
That's where
pretty
I'm at.
multifaceted. Yeah.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And the other part of it, Jamie, is that like this type of conversation, having a space like this where clearly we're on, we connect, we've connected from day one on this type of stuff.
Hmm.
We could talk for hours about it. You know, this is great. What I have with you, I don't need and or want to have with everyone else.
Hmm. Very
And
true.
that's an honoring of the space that you have, and the relationship that you have with, and the uniqueness, and what a person reflects in you,
Mm.
because we're all reflections of each other. We're all, our relationships are all ways to see ourselves more deeply.
Mm.
And that's just another angle to that thing. I think this, you know, particularly relationships, some intimate relationships, romantic, whatever dynamics can really be catalysts for, if you let them. They'll either be catalysts either way. They'll either reinforce a pattern in the past, which will make it harder for you to ignore and therefore more forced to change, or you notice them earlier on and choose to change them even though it's uncomfortable, and accept and look, and jump into the unknown. But you're jumping into the known whether you want to, whether you jump or whether you're pushed, basically.
Mm.
You're getting in that cold lake that you don't want to get into because it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
So you either get in willingly or life comes and pushes you.
Very true.
you don't get a choice, you know what I mean? Like,
extremely true. I'm just going to fix my microphone really quickly because it looks like it's stopped. And we're away. I just wanted to like toast to good friends because therapists are very expensive.
Oh my god.
Man,
my god, yeah. Exactly. And giving the space to be like, yeah, bro, just talk. I hear you.
Honest.
You know what I mean?
Honesty.
Because you need this also, and this is even ringing more true. And I'm so grateful to be able to have this conversation, particularly today, because it's like dinging the bell that I already know, is the fact that, like, dude, lean on your fucking community. That's exactly why a relationship won't work in the long term if you don't do that. If I'm not having conversations with my friends, with people, with my family, with other people, because if I'm looking for it all in one person, my dad gave a beautiful metaphor this morning. He's like, what is it? You're walking along and you find an apple tree in the middle of a meadow. What are the three things that apple tree provides? What do you think?
Okay, number one would be like nourishment, I'd say. Shade.
Apples, yep. Shade.
And
what can you do by an apple tree?
I guess you can plant other apple trees.
Oh, close. But if you've been walking for 5 hours, and you find on a hot summer day, what would you do by an apple tree?
I'll probably have a nap.
You sit down. You rest.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that apple tree? Are you going to eat all of the apples on it? No. You can eat one or two.
I have a weird relationship with food.
Yeah, I see that apple. Let me go. Well, maybe this metaphor is even more apt for you then. But yeah, you eat a couple apples, you take a 15-minute nap, you get out of the sun, and then you move on. You don't cut the fucking tree down and use it for firewood. You don't eat every single one of the apples, and you don't stay there for 5 days. So that is a metaphor for any type of relationship, but especially a romantic relationship. It's a respite. It nourishes you, and then you move on. And then you go to another apple tree, or you go and do something else, and you continue doing the thing, which doing the thing is walking. You don't stay there and be like, oh, it feels so good. I could just eat these apples all day long, and I don't have to get sunburned, and I can just stay in this comfort of some love and some intimacy, and get the oxytocin flowing. But meanwhile, bro, you haven't walked in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 days, and neither has that person either. And then you're like, you're eating, you're overdoing it because it feels good.
I think I remember Byron the Aquarius saying something like, I'm their minder until they go to their forever home. I'm the caregiver until they go to their forever home. I thought that was quite funny and profound.
Right.
As much as you want, or as much as as much as I want a great relationship to last forever, I guess that's a bit of a truth, because no matter who it is in your life, like there comes a time where all things come to an end, and it's like, what are we? Celestial bodies of light, and matter, space dust. at some point, you know, yeah,
At
not
some
not
point
to
we
it.
all go back, all goes back to smoke, and it's not to be dark, and it's that none of that is dark. It's not dark
Mm,
at all, because
it's
death
beautiful.
is not dark. Death is
Hmm.
completely natural, and part of is beautiful. You know, murdering somebody, chopping off all their limbs, and this, like, the
That's a bit
Squid Game
dark.
stuff that we're all,
Oh God, I can't watch that, man. No,
could
I
be a
think
little.
that's terrible.
I've been, I
I
mean, I've
can't.
been watching it, but
Have
I,
you?
it's it's trippy. I mean, it's trippy. We could, it's trippy on a lot of levels, but
Is it?
yeah, I mean, it's a late stage capitalism at its finest. It's
Is it
like,
really? Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, it's not dark. It's to die. It's we all have to let go. We come into this world alone, and we leave it alone, and it's why you got to cherish the people and the things that you have around you, and not fucking find fault with everything and criticize
Hmm.
endlessly and take everything with a grain of salt, because it's a bunch of, at the end of the day, if you don't laugh with it, it'll laugh at you.
Yeah. True. That'll hurt a
You'll
lot
make a
more.
fool of yourself.
Absolutely.
You'll make a
Now,
fucking
maybe we
fool out of
should touch
yourself.
on the, if you don't mind, maybe we should touch on the Squid Games thing just for a moment, because I kind of have the idea, perhaps not my own, or definitely not my own, because of, well, if anyone wants to do their research who's listening to this outside, because neither of us probably have the capacity nor are willing right now to go too much into the Akashic records, but um, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but the idea is about Squid Games, and oh no, it's about having original thought. So the Akashic records, go look it up, understand what it is. Um, these are just things, that knowledge that has resonated with me and now is within me, and now that I can share with others. But if you eat hamburgers all day, every day, you know, there will come a time, and it probably won't be that long. There's that uh, Super Size Me film, isn't it? That you'll probably get a heart attack. So when we feed ourselves with, and I haven't watched Squid Games. I know I've watched some of the trailers and things. I was like, if I feed myself with that, what's going to come of that? You know,
Mm.
live by the sword, die by the sword, sort of thing. I mean, you might say, oh, Jamie's just just a series. I was going to say maybe it's just a series. It's
Yeah.
you don't have to go out and do it. Agreed. But
It's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the
it
times, my
is.
friend.
It's a scary sign of the
Wouldn't it?
times, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like with
times are
the
scary. I mean, it's big. We're playing with big stakes right now. That's the thing, and everyone, you need bigger and more, like, people wouldn't relate. That's why people relate to it, and that's why, like, a show like that would have never had the, people 10 years ago wouldn't be like at the grocery store, be like, did you see the new concentration camp game show
yes, true.
episode last night? But, like, it is, I mean, the show is actually very, it it goes in a way my dad was talking about last night. He's like, I've never seen a show be that callous, like, show humanity at that gruesome of a level, not just up for violence's sake, but for, like, the depths of, like, the disregard of humanity, you know what
Mm.
I mean? And actually exploiting humans for the benefit of money, and for, like, pitting people against each other, bringing out the worst in people. I mean,
Mhm.
these are questions that we're all grappling with at the moment, because the entire humanity is having this global collective existential crisis, and so people need, like, outlets to be able, that's why we create, these, post-apocalyptic films and this type of thing, like more and more allegories to understand what's going on. And yes, of course, they've kind of pushed the whole thing forward, but it's, in terms of, like, whether you can consume it, and what it does for you on an individual level, it just depends on where you're at. I mean, I know some of my friends are like, they just can't watch horror movies, they're too sensitive to it, and they,
It's me.
can't, can't, yeah, and that's totally completely valid, because there's a time for mindless consumption of that type of thing, you know, which is, I think, probably how the majority of people are doing it, although they're subconsciously probably doing it to cope with a world around them that actually looks quite similar, you know, if you don't have to look that hard to see these types of things happening in really gruesome and horrible ways. Um, so they're coping with it by seeing it in a fictional format. And but if you're at the point in your process where it's like, no, I need to like keep my input and what I'm consuming and the things that my mind is pondering, you know, free of all of this like suffering and thinking of collective grief and what's going on, like, you know, I go through phases. Sometimes I can get into what's going on and be tuned into what's happening in the world and the news and blah 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 blah. Sometimes I just fucking can't, because it's fucks with something that's going on inside me, because it's so strong and there's so much influence for like look at me, like I am hurting, I am in pain, I am like dying, you know what I mean, this whole thing, like the world, the earth, and the structures of society, and you know, it's COVID and like everything is just collapsing around us in so many ways. um it can be so overwhelming, and you can lose your own individual thing that's timeless, your own individual wisdom in this, being caught up in the rapids of the big wave, and you're crashed and you're tumbling around in it, and you know, it can be really too much. So I think there's different things to get out of it. I mean, I think that the artistry in the end, like, because that show is made up by a bunch of creative directors, and I mean, the art direction of it is absolutely out of this world. The acting is extremely well done. You know, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it's one perspective on what's going on in the world. They're a part of human psychology. I also watched a film the other night called The Lighthouse, which is also with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, by this guy who did this movie called The Witch. And this guy, I mean, the film just blew me away. My dad watched it and he was like, what the hell did we just watch? It's like this ambiguous, like, what was the point of the whole thing? And I was like, well, you know, madness doesn't really have a point. That is the point. Like, when true insanity and being lost in those spaces of hyper dimensional, you know, purgatory, and what exists in those spaces that is human, that is not human, that is part of a collective unconscious, that's part of mythology, that's part of whatever, is fucking maddening. It'll make it's craziness. And this movie, the lighthouse, it plays out with these two guys on a lighthouse in the middle of nowhere, and they basically just descend into sort of Lovecraftian levels of delusion, and you don't know which one is really losing it, and they both seem kind of crazy. And just really, I've never had a movie that it was imbued with a feeling of like true terror and fear, because and terror and fear of forces that are bigger than us, that we don't understand, that are not necessarily benevolent, you know. And I think grappling with the fact that that exists in the same way that there is, you know, a lion in the jungle, or a black widow or something that like isn't bad but is extremely powerful and extremely, like, you don't want to be on the wrong side of it, um is a big part of art, you know, and can definitely lead to like gruesome spaces, or spaces of, you know, fear, and because that's also an experience of life. But does that mean that like you know, and some people are like, they just want to watch it all the time. They're working through something, you know what I mean? They're on everyone's on their own path, you know.
What's Lovecraftian?
H.P. Lovecraft was the author in turn of the century, I believe, late 1800s, early 1900s, who is kind of like, he wrote a bunch of short stories that, and I think novels as well, and kind of created sort of like his own world. Um, you know, he was really like there was a lot of like, it was something, I mean, it depends on how you want to think about it, but I mean, in the same way like Tolkien had this his universe, you know what I mean, that was kind of channeling through him. H.P. Lovecraft totally had another universe that was coming through him with its own mythology that were had these gods that were kind of, and it wasn't necessarily, again, like all peace and love. In fact, kind of not. It was deep and dark and mysterious, and there's a lot of talk about the sea and the kind of tentacle gods. There's this like main god of his pantheon called Cthulhu, and it's like this,
Oh, yes.
these kind of like, it's like he's grappling with some ideas and clearly some experiences, and he has a reservoir, then something's coming through him. And again, it's like to quantify this as like, oh, that's evil and this is good and this and that is kind of reductive on a certain level, because it's just like, well, he just has a vision to this part of some part of the collective unconscious that's that's expressing something and coming through him. And then it's been very influential. There's a lot of films or other things that have kind of take these elements from it. In that film, I mean, kind of on the nose, there's like tentacles and things like that sort of like the Poseidon and this kind of mythology, and these primordial forces, primordialism, this stuff that's just like kind of muck and ooze, and then something forms out of this chaos. And I think there's I mean, we see that in music and art, people engaging with like darker, quote unquote, aesthetics. It's not like, because life be like that. It's not all fairies and butterflies. There's all of it.
Yeah, I definitely take your point. Just running back, and well, pretty much a lot of what you said has been quite captivating hearing you speak about it. And just running back to your point about the Squid Games, like maybe in a different form, but it's nothing new, is it? About
Right.
Things that are happening in this world. The only thing I did want to just ponder on is like, do you think is it propaganda? Because like how when like certain country wants to go to war with someone, they'll make a lot of war movies and glorify war, and then for instance we have like Black Mirror with those little robot police dogs, and then you see that popping up like the life imitating art imitating life kind of paradigm. And I wonder whether this is just, I don't want to be like a boy who
Sound
cried
the
wolf
alarm.
about it, but it just feels like if that is normalized, then that's normal, and I'm not sure if that can be normal, or I'm not sure if I am willing to accept a world in which that is normal. I'm sure I'm not alone. If I am, then damn it. I'm sure I'm not alone with that idea.
No, not at
I
all.
would also love to watch it because I do enjoy great cinematography. I just feel like sort of almost like a political stance on it. It's like, look, this is not right. And I feel like maybe I'm one of these people back in the 2000s, like the 2010s, or whatever, saying about how harmful like Call of Duty and all these games are,
Yeah.
which are like,
Yeah.
you see the sort of, I see the point from both sides of the ones saying this is
Yep.
disgusting, shouldn't it be happening? Yep, true. And you say, well, it's just a game, we're just having fun. Yep, I see that too. So it's,
Or it's just
you
it's
know,
just a movie. It's just entertainment. It's not. It's there's levels to it, bro. We've been, and you also have to look historically. We've been basically the show is about people being gladiators, basically. You know what I
right.
mean? And
Yeah.
being and selling their bodies, which is like, you know what?
So
Humans, we've been doing it for a while.
doing that for a while. True.
It was that we enjoy it. There's a part of us, and to playing Call of Duty, great example. We enjoy it. There's and I think the more that we can look at that aspect of ourselves and not because that's where the spiritual bypassing comes in. That's where the love and the light and the bullshitting of the consciousness movement, blah 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 blah, really rears its head, because it's like, bruh, you're missing all the rest of it, and the more you shove it out, the more it's going to creep in even like more disgusting ways. I don't, this is a whole different topic that we could, a rabbit hole that we could go into, but like, great example, sexual abuse within psychedelic assisted psychotherapy trial sessions, and the cover-ups that are actively being done to make sure that that is not part of the media, that's not part of the conversation, because in doing so would quote unquote impede the progress of things being moved along towards a path of legalization. So it's like, crack a couple eggs to make an omelet. And if we don't, if we talk about this stuff, then it's going to impede the ability and access for people to have these experiences and to like have access to these treatment methods. However, what you're doing is creating a culture around something that is well, the exact thing that you're trying to heal. You're creating a culture of shame and guilt, and just like imbuing this thing with a bunch of bullshit that you're going to have to collectively deal with later. And that community is all about talking about how psychedelics are X, Y, and Z, and it's all love, and you just need to surrender and let go of more and more, blah 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 blah. Then the same people who are saying that stuff are the facilitating these sessions, getting people into open states of consciousness and trigger warning, but like touching them and blah 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 blah. It's happening. There's a pattern of it, and there's a pattern of people within those positions of influence and power in MAPS, in these other organizations, who don't want to address it and are actively silencing the people who are trying to. So, if you don't look at the thing, it's just going to gain in power. And I think, is Squid Game forcing people to look at that part of humanity and like question it and think about like where we're going, and if capitalism is allowed to continue down the path that we're currently on, like, is this a possible outcome for people, because we have so many people and we could just do this with people because they don't even fucking matter anymore, because they're just
it's sustainable.
It's yeah, is this going to make people think about yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course it's going to make people think about it. Are some people just going to consume it mindlessly and because they like to see gore and shit like that? Yeah, that too. So it's these things are not one thing or another thing. They're always, it's a gray area of it's both and. Yeah, you can't, there's so many things tied up into these things, and so I'm always reticent to say, yeah, it's just this one thing or it's just this other thing, because I've seen so far in life how that doesn't seem to be the case with much at all.
Very true. Do you want to talk on a post-truth society?
Post-truth society? What does that mean?
Well, post-truth society, I think it has a lot to do with maybe 2016 and trying to understand objectivity, whether that be in science, political, religious, or just, I guess it sort of says it all with the title post-truth. It just means like was it Nietzsche? Nietzsche said God is dead. Maybe now truth is dead, like, because you've got especially a pressing issue right now with vaccinations and things. And
right.
I know personally I've had conversations with good friends who I love dearly, and we sort of disagree on something which I would have thought is quite objectively true. And obviously what is truth really? Is there a spectrum? Because I think like we're definitely seeing the ugly side of maybe like scientific fact. If you look at just, for instance, Monsanto, and how science can be doctored. And so I just wanted to I wanted to try and understand for myself more than anything just what post-truth means, and how does one navigate within a, quote unquote post-truth society? I'm sure there's a few people who might want to understand this too, because I know that a lot of it's been rocky oceans. The boat has been rocking quite a bit in terms of relationships and understanding alliances and things in the last 2 years, maybe 2 years. Crazy to say 2 years, but that's pretty much what it
No.
is.
Yeah, and then yeah, I think 2016, I distinctly remember, I mean, I remember the night that the vote was cast and Trump got in office, and I distinctly remember a feeling that was like, oh fuck, it's like when you slip
Yeah,
in to like this new reality, and this new reality being so like feeling like you're living in a dream. It was actually a very psychedelic feeling, like this feeling like, is this really happening? Like, am I hallucinating this, or is this actually reality? And it is. It's the reality that we're all collectively living under and through and creating collectively. And I've just prefaced that with, I have no fucking clue, honestly, to the answers to the questions that you were asking. How do you
yeah.
navigate it? Boy, um, with a lot of luck and how you navigate it.
Okay,
Challengingly. I don't,
so let's
it's
break that down. What is luck? Because my dad would have a few things to say about luck. He's got some good stuff. He's a pretty pragmatic human. What is luck? I can give you my thoughts after, but what do you reckon? What is luck?
um, luck is I don't know how to put that. I don't have a smart way to put that or an intelligent sounding way to put that, but it's a I think it feels a little bit like the acknowledgement of you not being so much in control of
Okay,
stuff, you know?
okay,
An acknowledgement of you not having when you throw a dice down, you know, could land on the six, it could land on the two. You don't really have much to do with it. And I think that in a lot of life, we ask about free will, we decide to do stuff. You decided to throw the dice, but you don't get to decide what the dice is. And that feels a lot like what life can sometimes feel like. And that's what I mean when you're navigating a society. Like, you try things out, you experiment on, maybe it's going to be like this, and you try to like follow that voice and find that inner voice that feels the most true and the deepest amongst the multitude of other voices that are constantly trying to have their time at the podium inside of your mind. So it's luck to try to, sometimes you listen to the right one, sometimes you don't.
mm,
And it's a fucking confusing ass time to be alive for everybody. And my heart goes out to everybody trying to figure it out right now, because there is no figuring it out. It's clearly more complicated than any one of us can comprehend slash understand slash intellectualize slash rationalize in any way, because it just is. And so that's what I mean when it's luck. Like, yeah, I really hope and I believe, and then it's there, like there's like a sense of choice, because you do get to choose to whether what you want to believe. And I choose to believe that things are happening in a um in a direction that is leading towards something better, objectively. um and how you define better, um and what your markers are for defining what a better society looks like. I think uh, we don't even know what. I think it's like you thinking you're like, I know what the perfect woman would be for me, or I don't perfect partner, blah blah blah. You don't know what that is. We don't know what a good, better, perfect society would look like. And if we try to get in the driver's seat of creating that thing, um, or thinking that we know what is best, I think that's where we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. And I think we're going to come up to that point pretty quickly where we're going to realize, like, we got ourselves into this mess by a way of thinking that is an extremely selfish, arrogant, greedy way of existing as humans. And we got to knock that shit off. And we can't knock that shit off by going back to living in tribes and living off the land and da. And we can't like regress, because that's not how life works. We have to integrate the entire spectrum of humanity into something that functions as a whole, instead of on a me first, you never mentality. Will we be able to do that? We're about to find out. We got a front row seat to the end of the world that we've created, because it simply cannot continue for much longer. It won't. It's consuming itself at such a fast rate that will inevitably reach the point within our lifetimes where we will see what we all decide to do.
Yeah,
because we either all decide to do it together or we don't. And there's a kind of peacefulness about that, because then it's like, well, good, I don't have, then it means I'm off the fucking hook. This whole time I thought, I'm on the fucking, you take 2 tabs of acid and you feel like you're on the fucking cross, people with a martyr complex, or feel like they're Jesus. It's like, dude, you are and you're not. It's all on your shoulders, and it's all not on your shoulders, because you are completely responsible for your goddamn life and completely not responsible for anyone else's. So in that way, yeah, you have an impact, and yeah, you have absolutely no impact. You got it all and you've got none of it, and deal with it. Stop thinking about it so much, stop talking about it so much, and just live your goddamn life and do the thing that you're good at. Find what you're good at, follow your joy, follow your passion, and that's enough. That's enough.
I love what you said about there's a lot of stuff there. I love what you said. There was one part that I remember, a quote which is directly related, and it's something along the lines of, those who try to change the world for the better oftentimes end up being part of its demise, something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's very much
Steve
like
Jobs, baby.
Yeah, true.
Mark Zuckerberg, you
fucked my life up, made it great,
yeah.
Made it great, and fucked it up. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing, is that is the real thing about it. And you can't deny that those guys, you look in their eye, they totally think they're doing something positive,
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, they are, because as I said, in doing so, in putting a cell phone in everyone's fucking pocket and doing whatever this does, the positive and the negative are important of this thing.
It's the duality, isn't it? It's that yin
it's
and
the
yang.
Duality.
It's one.
It pushes, and more suffering and more trauma creates more healing. Done, bro. And that's
mic drop situation,
like, for real.
Yeah.
We're not getting rid of it. There's so much fucking trauma, and there's so much undealt with trauma, and we're traumatizing ourselves more and more and more and more and more and more. And all that does is push people and push humanity to the brink. And you have to fucking hit that brink. Every AA, all 12-step programs, what is the core tenet? Rock fucking bottom, dude. Only at rock bottom.
Yeah.
And to get to rock bottom fucking is pretty gnarly. When that comes to like rock bottom of a species. And I think if you look at what's going on the planet, it's not hard to see that there's the night is getting dark, and it'll probably get darker before the dawn.
We've been in the period of fuck around, and we're about to hit the period of find out.
My
The best things I saw in recent weeks. Yes, or months. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
very true. Just
precisely.
to quickly drop in what my dad's idea of luck was, because I'm sure he might miss it if I don't drop it in case anyone's interested. So I'm interested in that. I think my dad's a very interesting person and helped me a lot in life. He basically says the harder he works.
Shout out, dads.
Shout out Ewan Cameron. What's up? He basically says the harder you work, or he says the harder he works, the luckier he gets, basically. But he also, on top of that, he says work smart, not hard. So it's, kind of one of those. Yeah.
Totally. It's also the law of attraction, all that stuff.
Right.
Blah blah blah. It's the law of action. You put yourself in that position. Yeah, shit's gonna come your way. You put that intention out there, and then you do it. Of course, it's gonna happen.
Newton's third law.
What is it? The law of third.
It's every action gets an equal or opposite
reaction. Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and thinking of something is an action. A thought is an action.
Yeah, it's tangible, which is what I guess maybe we'll figure out once we try to understand this telepathy thing a bit better. Which we know.
Yeah, we're on the brink. We're on the brink, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, it's all good. Like, for real. Are you fucking kidding me? You know how many smart ass people, how many people really care about figuring out the problems that we're having on our planet? And you know how many people care about doing that? And you know how, like, shit always, like, love always wins? It always wins. True. Why would we make movies? Every fucking human being on the planet loves a movie with a happy ending, but with some drama. True. Not some fucking cheesy, if everything's perfect for watch, like a perfect family or like a perfect thing like for 2 hours. Boring. Never have I ever read a book that is like that. And would I ever? Because it's fucking boring. And humans, we can't suffer that. So of course we got to have some fucking drama, and you got to be at the very brink, and you're like, whoa, can they make it? You know what I mean? Like the aliens who have got the front row seat to this whole situation are up there cracking, they're like, dude, I go put some more popcorn on. I can't not look. Like at the season finale, Human Species season fucking 674, and I'm on the edge of my fucking seat, like what are they going to do?
It's about to go down.
It's about to fucking go down, and I wouldn't have chosen to be alive at any other time on the planet because it's so potent right now.
Yes.
So I just want to vibe check. This has been a lovely conversation. Do you want to like, you mentioned, I didn't really understand exactly what the format of this. I mean, we've just done, you could chop up into some kind of like podcast situation, but did you want to kind of like also just do any kind of like shorter questions, or was this about music related, or like for a radio thing, or just I wanted to just vibe check because I got to go get some breakfast, and if you wanted to hop into anything else.
I appreciate your time and coming on, bro. It's been really hilarious and great and amazing. I have 10 questions. We could probably shoot through them. I wrote them. I've had because I was doing so the intention for this one is to go on area 3000 radio. I'm going to do like short 4-5 episode series on them on that station. And I will have a portion of the show in which I'll use probably a clip or I don't know, half an hour or up to an hour. I don't know how long it's going to be, maybe 2 hours or 1 hour of a conversation. And I've got other people that I'll chat to as well. And then there'll be a music part as well. But yeah, I think, this should probably get out there. So maybe we can release it in some capacity as a podcast or something. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. But I do have 10 questions that I've written. And I kind of, the thing is, like, for me personally, with all of the structures and everything and I've always been a bit of an anarchist, to be honest. I don't give a fuck really that much
I know.
about how people are doing things. So I'll actually just go into things with like open format, like what is this supposed to be? I don't know. Let's find out. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Let it
yeah,
emerge. Let it emerge. It's more fun that way, and it's more
yeah,
creative because then you're like, oh wow,
natural,
I've had this totally new format of doing this, and it's fun. So good. Let's keep doing it. Also, this is a good practice. It helps me also to like have a space where I don't feel like, that I'm oversharing or I'm whatever, because the thing is that we both you need to be able to talk things through to sharpen your ability to get it through quicker.
It's literally talk therapy, isn't it?
It completely is, but
literally.
it's also sharpening your mind.
Yes.
I was thinking about this before, like, what is my perspective on something? And I was even like thinking about writing things down, re-recording myself saying them, like really getting clear and good at communication, because that is so important if you want to deliver an idea to people, and the more that you do that, it's almost like jazz, it's like you have to transcribe the solo and play it. It's not your own actually in the beginning, because what fucking thoughts are your own anyways, bruh? Especially in your fucking 20s. Half your thoughts, if not more, are some shit you read, some shit you heard from your parents, some whatever. You have no experience. You have some very little experience to actually create wisdom, which is experience, which is understanding plus experience. So, if you want to be able to communicate clearly, you got to practice at it, and you got to ponder things, and you got to try other people's ideas on, see how they feel, sharpen your communication skills, because then when you do have an original idea, when you do have an experience plus knowledge that creates wisdom, you're going to be able to play that solo, and it's not going to sound like Charlie Parker anymore. It's not going to sound like John Coltrane. It's not going to sound like anybody. It's going to sound like you. It'll have elements of those people in it, but it'll be your solo, and that's what's valuable. So it's the same thing in a talk situation like this. It's like, how can we, push ourselves and break through to new levels where it's like, it's not about you anymore. It's about something's coming through you. Again, it's the same thing. Like, you had this experience. Yeah, that's your experience, but it's you're here to share it. Nobody wants to live on a desert island, write your memoirs for nobody to read. So
true.
Anyways, it's great.
You're welcome to call me anytime, and anyone is. I would say anyone that I don't know, text me first. Say, hey, can we have a call? Don't just call. Because I might be like, what? Hello.
Boundaries, baby.
Yeah. Hey, let's
jump into these guys.
Let's jump into these questions, and just quickly to touch on what you'd said before about the original thought and how much is original thought. Well, the Akashic records, they kind of say that there is no original thought, and that we are just vessels for ideas to pass through our crown chakra. The guy who there's a really great book that I've listened to on Audible, which touches on this, about like opening your crown, and you can do that through drinking coffee, and that's why a lot of people get great ideas when they are stimulated. I think it's like I'll edit in the name of the audiobook because I have it on my phone after. But yeah, so and what is as a musician, I'm sure maybe you've had this idea before, like that you potentially are a vessel for music. It's not you didn't necessarily always come up with that music, but you are the pen in which the great writer of the cosmic universe is writing the story, and your ink flows into your machines and your DAW and your recording, or maybe you don't record it, but that's great too. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you just said it. You just said it. Yeah. You just said it. So that is probably, I mean, how to be certain about anything. If you could, I choose to believe that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
sure.
choose to believe, because that's what feels the most true to me. um, and it
Got it.
feels
Yeah.
good, and I feel that I'm experiencing myself, and I'm experiencing something bigger than me at the same time when I'm in a creative flow state, and that is intensely pleasurable. And when things are pleasurable, we're meant to do them. That's why sex feels so good, you know. uh you follow your pleasure,
True.
really, your true pleasure, and you know the difference, you know.
That's
And
what my
also your
mentor
fault, I
always said
mean,
to me.
you know, all pleasure leads to something, you know. It's like
Mhm.
it's it's the deepest pleasure has that, well, I don't need to go there, but it's just something I've been thinking about, is like
Go there.
the true pleasure, true enjoyment, fulfillment of life is an acceptance of all life, of all the experience. Like the deepest piece of music that you heard, you know, I love a good, like, you know, jackin' tune that makes me want to dance, and like a sick drop, you know, like that is like so fun and dramatic and has this narrative. But when music has the capacity, like a simple song, I've been listening to this song um, by this incredible fiddle player and singer, Irish singer, named Zoe Conway, and her husband do this song. I've just been obsessed with it. I've been absolutely obsessed with it. It's the most simple song, four or five chords in it, and but her voice and the intonation, and even though she's singing in Gaelic, I don't understand a goddamn word she says. It just hits me. It has me with this feeling in my heart, this tightness in my chest, makes me want to cry with joy and tears of acceptance, and the bittersweet quality of life that's just like that ultimate nectar of like fucking God's love. You know what I mean? That like, even though it's gonna hurt so bad, even though it's gonna fucking sting, and it's gonna break you into a million pieces, when it's all said and done, we're gonna be back together in the end, and everything's gonna be okay, because I love you, and I did this because I love you, and I knew that you would figure it out, and I trusted you. It's like, oh, you know, that shit is is truly divine. And it's like, when you're in touch with that, and that's coming out through you, there's nothing like it. That's true pleasure. When you're crying and laughing, you know, because they're the same. Laughing and crying are basically the same emotion, you know.
After.
Nervousness and excitement, anxiety and excitement are the same emotion. Grief and happiness, it's like finding humor in dark things. It's the same thing. It's the
Mhm.
same thing, and that's part of the human experience, is being able to see that, like, that thing that's broken and complete at the same, on this, in the same way, and by the same token, you know, the yin, the yang. I mean, there's really beautiful metaphors, and simple, dude. We could talk for fucking, we could go on, have a 17-hour podcast where we're, you know, blowing our load and stroking our egos and jacking off our intellect
Yeah.
about X, Y, and fucking Z. But at the end of the day, it's fucking simple. It's not complicated, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Shut the fuck up. You know, I said to my own, like, I'm good. What do you want? What do you have, another way of explaining it? You have another way of fucking talking about it? Bruh, I'm good. Just fucking do it. You're wasting your time. You're wasting other people's time. Enough. And I know it's kind of feels a little bit kind of like whatever, but it's like a little harsh, but it's not. It's like,
It's not.
I love you. Shut up.
Yeah, that's always the good prefix. I love
You know?
you. Can you please stop doing that?
Can you please, like, just shut up. Please
Yeah.
go do something. Go do it. Well,
Yeah.
actions speak so loudly.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
You know?
Music speaks louder than words.
It does.
It's the only thing that the whole world understands. And
Yeah.
we are music, and this is music, and,
It's
there
a
would,
story.
yeah, it's a story. It is, yes. And we
It's
are
a
music.
story. It's a vibration, and a
Yes, it's a
vibration
vibration.
is an up and a down. It's a sine wave, up and then
Hmm.
down and then up again. It's a wave, and that's literally the foundational blocks of the voice that I'm speaking to you in, everything that you hear and everything that you experience. Because the universe loves a good like metaphor. It just does. It loves it. Everything speaks to the same thing.
Sure.
Because it is all the same thing. Things come up, things go down endlessly. The sine wave is eternal, bro. How could you stop this? A perpetual motion machine. Like you said, the law of thermodynamics. Unless obstructed by another object, gravity, a wall, something, things will go on. A fucking rubber ducky, things will go on ad infinitum. This way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. And there's so many cool synchronicities like that. I mean, the fact that the polyrhythm of 2 against 3 against 4 against 5, this is a cool thing you could check out. Look it up. Jacob Collier does this, and talk about somebody who's tapped in. You know what I mean? Like he's like, my favorite polyrhythm is 2 against 3 against 4 or 5. He does the fucking polyrhythm with his hand, with his fingers. First of all, his separate fingers. He's like, let me just do this polyrhythm with my fucking fingers. And if you take that polyrhythm and then speed it up and you know what I mean? And speed it up, it'll create a fucking major chord.
Ooh, tonality is that?
Yeah, it creates the tonality.
Wow.
It creates the tonality that we hear. So if you just break it down and slow everything down to the base level of what's going on, it's geometry, it's math, it's the basics, building blocks of creation, which is symmetry and chaos and Fibonacci sequence. And that, that's why you take a bunch of acid or DMT or whatever. It's like there's structures that are ultimately symmetrical and yet like evolving, and you can't look at it because it'll just evolve into a billion other things. That's what it is, and we can't understand it. All we get to do is live it and be here and enjoy it. So again, it's like, it's cool, it's beautiful, but go make something about it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I want to see it, I want to feel it, and I want to live it.
And with that, hey, what was the Zoe Conway song? Do you remember the name?
It's in Gaelic. It's what is it? Hold on.
Maybe I'll drop it in like 3, 2, 1. I'll drop it in. We'll let everybody hear it. Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Please.
I'll send it over. Yeah, it's in Gaelic. It's Fasim. I don't know how to speak this language. It's insane.
That's what my ancestors were speaking.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
My whole dad's side is from Scotland.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, Scott Gaelic is insane. So anyways, cool. Hit me with these
all right.
With these
Let's
questions.
Go with these questions. Because I've had some questions that I've been running through with the old radio show for a while, and it's sort of like, I guess it's like my own weird, dark, twisted version of them. So the first one out of 10 is, what are your thoughts on gender and how your decision making and how that, I actually wrote these with the Siri voice thing. So let me just quickly, so what are your thoughts on gender and how it affects your decision making process, whether that be conscious or subconsciously, or whether it doesn't, and what?
All right. What are my thoughts on gender and how it affects my decision making process?
Either consciously or subconsciously.
Consciously or subconsciously. Well, we got. You
can always pass as well. Like any of these questions you don't want to answer, to say we don't, or you want to come back to it later, then just pass it and we can go to the next one.
Well, it's just that there's not going to be there's no short answer to that. I mean, there's no short answers with me in general.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
As you can see,
that's why we love you.
Oh, I just see a beautiful robin just Look at him.
Really? Outside?
Yeah, right outside the window.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Cutie. Well, there you go. That robin is a male bird with a beautiful red breast. He's there. A female robin does not have a red breast and is pretty camouflaged and doesn't draw a lot of attention to herself. Um, so that robin there is, you know, basically asking to be acknowledged and looked at and desired, and he's going to show himself off so that he can win the approval of that female to mate with her so they can have more babies. That's how that works for that robin. And for this robin, just about the same, my friend.
So a male
Just
robin
about
with a
the
red,
same.
a male robin with
You
a
are
red
you kidding
breast.
me? Are you
Is
kidding
that?
me, bro? Of course, that's me. That is me. I want to
Yeah.
be fucking beautiful. I want to be desired. I want people to know that I'm like got my thing. That's, I'm active, I'm like trying to create something. That all of that is desirable for a mate, you know? So gender for me uh is is I am blessed in the fact that like my given biology corresponds with the feeling of my hormones and corresponds, I don't have crazy dysphoria or dis association with that given our society. Although I certainly feel the effects and have felt the effects of not maybe being the most of really not at all the standard of what a masculine identified person is supposed to look like or supposed to act. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin, on my own body. I have many times. um but how that affects my decision making process, I don't want to talk about like where I was at and the society and blah 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 blah, because who gives a shit for everyone else. It matters. It matters for you. And that, not to say like who gives a shit don't like or respect other people and listen to other people and love other people for who they are. That's a given. Let's get beyond that. We're we're beyond that. Like, we should be. And if you're not, get on the fucking train. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Do some work on yourself, and then we'll talk. But beyond, like in for the personal and for people's processes, dude, just fucking feel it out inside you. We all have a blend of masculine and feminine energies inside of us. They're polarized energies. It's yin, it's yang. We need both of them inside of us to survive. We need both of them in relationships to survive. We need both of them in communities to survive, because they complement each other. We have complementary energies.
So
That's why in every relationship, partner, non-binary, homosexual, heterosexual, and everything in between, um, there is always polarity. Without polarity, ask any, you can't both be topping. Just doesn't really work so well. Two subs get together, well, they both lie down on the pillow, like, who's gonna do something? That's basically what
choke
it comes
me.
down to.
No, you choke me. No,
Yeah,
you choke me.
yeah, choke yourself. Nobody's gonna do it.
Everyone's choking yourself.
Boring. Somebody does something, and
Yeah.
somebody receives something. So there you go. You're not going to argue with that. There's no political correctness about it. Masculine, feminine, whatever, however the terms you want to use for it, doesn't matter. It is what it is. So you and yourself, I have to do something. I have to give something, and I also have to be able to receive something. Because if without receiving, I can't give. And without doing something, I can't rest. And these are these like polarities. So you have to find a way, and it's an ongoing process to find that balance point inside yourself, which may change over time. Jamie, You know, 15 years from now, you have a crazy realization. You're like, I don't want to be a Jamie anymore. I've actually
Sure.
found a new part of a new box inside of my bigger box that I never even opened. And something made me open it. And now everything has changed, you know? And people have those experiences. I mean, you know, Eris Drew, uh, she's literally one of my fucking, you know, guide and just a guiding light in my life and in the life of so many people. Her story is literally the story of, you know, finding your true self. And when you're in your freaking 40s, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
blossoming into this incredible, like, self-actualized, self-realized, loving person that just has this energy that's undeniable. And you know how many people that has influence, and the amount of people that is inspiring every single day just by her fucking existing to find their true self, and to, you know, trans people, non-trans people, all people, because that's a story of truth, and it's a story of resilience, and it's a story of going through the flame and the fire of society and all of the shit that it throws on each and every one of us, because we're all subjects of the fucking society we live in. We're all victims of the society that we all are perpetrators of creating. Every single person is involved in creating it. Every single person is involved in being hurt by it and benefiting from it. So
Facts.
you're not going to get away from that. Some people benefiting more than others, some people hurting more than others. Clearly, that's why we need to balance things out. That's why we need to find more like space of understanding, more space of, but we can't, humans have a hard time with both. And how can we be all the same and how can we all be separate? It's a hard thing to understand, it's a hard thing to live, you know. But I think as we understand quantum physics, as we understand these things, as they bleed out into the public mass consciousness on like a really big level,
The
suddenly
Akashic
people are going to
records.
understand. Yeah, the Akashic records are right back there. People can be like, oh my god, you are me, I am you, and I'm also not you, and you're not me, because I'm separated. I have this beautiful body, I have this beautiful mind that has its own experiences, and yet you, if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. If I hurt the world, I'm hurting myself. If I act in anger, I'm acting in anger towards myself.
Mm.
And that is literally just because we got the blinders on. Take the blinders off, you know, and you feel that, you understand it. But we're all collectively slowly taking the blinders off, and all this shit that's going on in the world is pushing us more towards ripping the blinders off. You know, there's little rips, and then a period of calm, and then a rip again, and then a period of calm. And you know, that shit's crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
good luck. Back to gender: be yourself, love yourself, respect other people, and everybody got to make decisions. So be your own daddy, be your own mommy, and call it a fucking day.
I'll accept that short answer from you. And shout out to Eris Drew. I love her music. Um, she
Love
played
her
one of
whole
your
being.
she played one of your tracks recently in New York.
Him and Maya played it at Sustain. I was crying at the dance floor. I was
Woo!
just
I
having
felt that. I saw your Instagram story and I felt that. I was like,
you
ah!
couldn't even,
Ah!
dude.
I heard your
Unreal.
response, like, oh! I was like, oh! I
I
got
know.
excited. I was like, oh, amazing. It's so
I know.
beautiful. That's gorgeous.
Yep.
And trans lives matter. They really matter. So anyone who, you know, didn't know that, now you know.
Well, yeah. If you didn't know it, then good luck. Yeah,
Now you
you're
know,
at the
homie.
ground floor. You know,
So,
taking. Yeah.
question 2 out of
Yep.
10. This is going to be, I reckon, a easy one to bash up. What is something weird about you that perhaps only your closest friends know? Maybe they don't even know.
Weird thing about me that my closest friends may not even know, but
Maybe they know.
maybe they do know. Um, where do we begin? Um,
Just one. Just one.
just one thing that is weird about me. I uh talk to myself as if I'm another person when I'm alone almost constantly. And I imagine if somebody had a record of me doing that, that I would maybe look, uh, you know, diagnosable, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
um, so, but it's not weird. I think a lot of people do it, but there certainly, you know, feels like maybe not as particularly socially acceptable chance. I Yeah, I think that's probably one thing. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was just, I sleep. Sometimes when I sleep with my eyes open, like half
Two for
open.
one.
So I look.
It's
So
like
I
an
look.
outlet. That's beautiful.
Yeah, like sometimes I remember like previous partners of mine would like wake up and I'd have my eyes, but they'd be like rolled back in my head. So I look like I
Oh
like
no.
have like just white eyes that are like kind of half open. And I scare the shit out of them
Wow. Jeez.
sometimes. So I don't know. That's a funny fact.
That's
Yeah, I'll
good.
leave it at
Two,
that.
two for one
There's
there.
more,
Yeah,
but
and just to sort of surmise, like that question is a bit of an oxymoron or a paradox or whatever it is, because I don't actually believe in that weird is a thing. It's just something that you don't understand yet. That's my take on it. That was the whole idea around making kinky audio, like as a label and a party and a whatever it is. It's like kinky is like kind of weird, and weird is just something that you don't understand yet, and it's pretty cool once you get to know it usually. So it's kind of, just, we need to call a knife a knife and a fork and a spoon. Otherwise, when we ask for a spoon and we get a fork, this is just labeling. But I think, yeah, weird is not really a real thing. But that was a great answer and very hilarious. And yeah, I think I also talk to myself, maybe not quite as another person, or maybe it is. So yeah, you're not alone there. Um,
no, I'm sure, and I know a lot of
yeah,
people do. But it's
yeah,
interesting. I mean, kinky as a concept is great because it's like,
yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like, it's so a straight line is really boring. Exactly. Like, it's just
Mm-hmm.
boring. Like,
100%.
put some kinks in it, put some knots in it, and like the way that things, a ball of yarn, if you mapped it out, is so complicated. It's like
Sure.
when you get the cable out of your. I know I got some music
The
heads out there
headphones.
related to this one. The fucking headphones, yeah. That they've somehow created this most complex, intertwined
Two
knot
little
that
people inside
into the
there
two little people that are
all
just
day.
intertwining the. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's just like, and it'll drive you crazy, but if you try to understand it or how it happens, but it is like that, and like life is constantly a knot that, it's fun to try to untie, and it'll just tie
Mhm.
itself up again in a new way. And that's a yeah, it's not that weird. It's just how it is.
Exactly. Hey, what's number three? What is a
Yep.
negative habit or behavior pattern that you've picked up during the lockdown? And I understand you personally have been out of what we have come out of yesterday. Like, you've been out of lockdown for a while, but maybe if you can run your mind back to lockdown, and was there a negative behavior pattern that you picked up?
A negative behavior pattern that I picked up in lockdown.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone went through their own lockdown, right? I think there was a lockdown that was happening for me that was coinciding with another very challenging process that was happening in my life, which I'm sure I'm also not alone with. A lot of people got locked down with either themselves or with a roommate or a partner that they were that brought out other things that were going on and maybe previously, but it amplified it. And so I think I picked up um, maybe a little bit of kind of like OCD-esque tendencies, you know what I mean? Because I felt I had no control over my situation in a lot of ways, and I felt like if I just, you know, cleaned better or if I organized more or whatever, like it would somehow, make things feel more under control. Um, doesn't really. Uh, so I think that was something I kind of had to like be aware of, and like not, yeah, like feeling like I could relax a little bit. And um I don't know. I don't even know if the habits though that I don't know what habits I got
It's a
into.
great
It's just
answer.
like,
Yeah, it's a great
yeah,
answer. I'll accept
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'll accept it. It's yeah, I get it. Trying to get that external validation for things that are beyond your control, and OCD is something I understand. Well, I attain to understand. So I understand that, yeah, very well. And I think it's a great answer. I kind of just put that question in because I kind of feel that there's probably a lot of shame. I know there's a lot of shame for me in terms of behavior patterns that I picked up during the lockdown. So I think we should just normalize it and talk about it and not get too constrained. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And like, yeah, I think that, you know, together as a whole, we can go through some uh, collective healing after we've been through some collective trauma. So I think it should be normal to talk about, this what went wrong. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean, totally. I think it's just a way of I think thinking of it for me as like, oh, that there's a bad habit or something. Like I look back at that time and I was like, I mean, I didn't have anyone else experience. I had my own, and
so
it
hard.
was really challenging in more ways than one. And so I think recently it's been really important to just cultivate a lot of compassion
Mm.
towards myself, and thinking like, ah, dude, it wasn't even a habit. It was just, I was just coping with something that was so challenging. So much of the time. So,
Amen to that.
yeah.
All right, so this is on the flip side. What's the last record or song that made you get up and dance cathartically? Just like lifted you out of whatever you were doing. You just got. What was the last track or record?
Oh,
Can you remember what it was?
oh, the last one that did that, man.
That you
I
remember?
had, well, yeah, I just, the memory of when of this New York trip that I was just on is fresh. But I mean, I was going out. I went to 3 weekends in a row, which is, after not going out at all for 18 months or whatever it's been. And so it was pretty turbo, and there were quite a few. I mean, I can specifically relate to at Sustain, there was a um Soyun DJ Fart in the Club. Her
What a
set,
name.
was just, all the stars had aligned to. I performed the night before, so I wasn't all like tired from performing or whatever. And I was just very much wanting to express and cathartic and let it all out. And it was totally that. So she played some bangers, and her that set too is just so legendary because she and her and Na, her friend, and Mona, her other friend from Germany, her and Na, they had to go to Seoul first to then come to New York,
Korea.
because, yeah, they went back to
Jeez.
Korea where they're from, and then to New York to be able to skirt around the entry ban from Europe. And then so it was literally, and then to New York, and then they went back to Berlin. It was like the around the world set, you know
Damn.
so much effort to be able to be there. So it was just felt so special and so important. And I was so proud of her. She just fucking crushed it, so love
Do you
it.
remember?
Love to see
Do,
it.
do you remember like a one song that we can pin on that situation, or even one
Um
song of hers that would fit that bill?
I could ask her. I would have to ask her what the tunes she was playing.
Yeah, track ID, track ID.
I'm such a yeah, I don't even I'm like, it's a nice song. I like that song. I don't even, I'm just like, so
It is.
I used to be really concerned, like, oh, I want to play that tune too. And I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
there's too many tunes anyways to play,
it gets like
you
that. Yeah.
know? Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You'll find out what it is. I'll edit it in and I'll play it in three, two, one. All
There
right.
you go.
So we got number five. We're breaking the back of it. Breaking the back of these 10 questions. What is a bit of
Yep.
advice that you would give yourself 2 years ago? And how old are you
Oh
today?
man. 27.
27, 25. Quarter life,
Oh
Robin.
man. Quarter
A
life
quarter century.
robs.
I don't know, it's quarter life. I think you'll live to 200, so it's an eighth
An
life.
eighth of my life. Ooh, 2 years ago, Robin.
Some advice.
Oh man. Hang in there, bud.
I love that.
Just fucking hang in there, man. You got it. You got it. It seems crazy. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. Don't
Yeah,
don't don't worry so much about it because you know, and you know that you know, and it's insulting to your intelligence to be worrying about the shit because you already know it's gonna be okay.
love that.
You just already know it. So don't insult yourself by
That's it.
worrying and stressing yourself out. Oh
That's it.
shit.
Oh yeah. That's the first half of your answer. We basically said like hang in there. That's I asked a similar question to my friend Nathan, comrade Nathan. Shout out Nathan. He's actually supposed to come around and pick up something off me this weekend, but he said the very similar thing. So that's very interesting, and that's a beautiful answer. Hang in there. Yeah, and it gets hard. And it gets tough. Keep going. All right, that's a great answer. Number 6. What is a bit of advice that you would give yourself that you will give yourself right now, 2 years in the future? 29-year-old Robin. What's some advice for
Okay.
29-year-old Robin?
Here's my advice. What is my advice for myself at 2 years in the future?
Yeah,
29
29
years
years
old.
Both
Um,
years.
me in the past,
Human.
looking forward. I'll probably be doing some of the same shit.
Well,
In
you're in the
fact,
present. You're not in the
yeah,
past. You're in the present.
yeah. I'm here. So
Talking to
future
the
me,
present, really. Like
yeah,
2 years from now. In this
yeah.
timeline.
Uh, don't worry about it. I would say the same things
Same
about
answer?
2 years ago that I would say to myself in 2 years in the past, because I'm certain that I'll be working on the same in the same thing. But I will say also, thank you. You're
Oh,
you're doing good, and thank you for being who you are. And like, I want to honor the fact that you've got so far, and you've done so much work to be able to accomplish what you've accomplished and be the person that you are, because only I know what it took to get there. So my advice for myself is to stick it out. Don't let yourself be swayed, because I know how hard it is. I can see how hard it is sometimes if you get a lot of eyes on you, and that's what I'm doing. I'm actively like saying I want people to look at me. I want people to listen to my music. I want people to, I want to be a public figure. That is 100% going to affect myself, and my ego is going to want to lap it up like a thirsty dog. And so I just want to caution myself in the future to continue to stay humble, to stay grounded, to not get caught up and swept up in stuff that's other people's shit or the world's shit, and to stay with the program, to not lose sight of the broader, the bigger picture ever.
absolutely.
Or if you do, to get back to it quick as you can.
It's a hell of an answer, my man. Right. So, what was the last film that made you cry? Doesn't have to be a movie. It's just like a bit of film. Yeah. That visual,
Last night.
audio. Oh yeah.
Last night watching fucking Squid Game.
Oh god.
For real, dude. Yeah, I'm telling
you there.
Episode, I don't know what it was, 6 or 7 of it. Like,
yeah,
they really let it up, and they got into a certain deal that was really sad, and it's and it was like, people being pitted against each other who loved each other, and just the, coming down to this, like, we can't. And it wasn't even at that point about like how fucked it up that they'd been put in this situation and capitalism and blah 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 blah. It was just the fact that, like, in life sometimes you're put between a rock and a hard place, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you have to let go, and you have to say goodbye, and um you have to. And so it hit. It was like, and when they turn like that K drama emotional, they get the music playing or whatever, they just turn that switch up, because the Koreans are really good at that, the K drama. I've watched a few of them, like, and they'll hit. They know how to like touch onto that emotional chord. And when it's under that kind of circumstance, the show so extreme, it's like, it really was like quite well done. So yeah, that was the last thing. But I cry in I'm such a easy movie crier. I'm a sucker, dude. Yeah.
Hey, I reckon people would want to know like more good stuff to watch, and you have excellent taste. What's one other? This is just a side question, by the way. What's one other like K drama that people can get into, or more if you know, like
You should
one other
watch
K-drama?
you should watch this one called Hello My 20s.
Oh yeah,
I got locked into that under the in the lockdown, and it's it's campy and stuff, but it's really well done, actually. I was hooked after like the first episode. And it's like, yeah, it's got all this stuff. It's got drama, there's like a murder, there's mystery, there's love interest, there's like, coming of age vibes. Um it's great. I loved it. So that's my rec, K-drama rec.
amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to check that out as well. Hey, question number 8 comes with a bit of a preface. About 4 years ago, I was in Mexico and I was filming a documentary around the question or the idea of what value is. So, what does the concept of value mean to you?
Oh man, a lot. That was what the whole, without kind of knowing it, I named the album I just did, the reflection of intrinsic value. I just got that name kind of just sort of like
Which
popped
bands,
in,
by the
and
way?
thanks. It just kind of like popped into my head when, and I liked how it sounded, and I liked how it looked, and I think, I spoke a little bit on this in a recent like interview for the hue and saturation people in Berlin, and it's like, value is like, what is value? What is intrinsic value? What is something that is like intrinsically you? And what isn't? And we all reflect upon that at different points in our life. Like, what is our worth? How do we calculate what our worth is? Is it financial? Is it our contribution? Is it our relationships? Is it our experiences, our memories, like, or is it all of them in different ways? And but yeah, so the concept of value is so important, I think, to life. Even, yeah, just like, what is something worth? What is something worth? And what is something that you can't quantify in worth? What is priceless? Like those MasterCard commercials. So yeah, it's 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 good to think about it. You think about it regardless, but yeah, that's what I think
All
about
right.
value.
So it's kind of like, to summarize, like value is kind of like everything all together.
Yeah, it's the sum of the parts. And it's something, it's also not, it's all of it and it's none of it. If there's value that you have in like a relationship with your dog, how are you supposed to put a value on that? You bought a dog, right? You got a cool dog, you spent, you know, $1,000 on a beautiful Shiba Inu puppy and stuff, and then 5 years later, that's like your best friend, and is that dog worth $1,000? Like, would you ever sell that dog if somebody gave you $1 million? Would you sell it?
I bet you know they wouldn't.
Or, no, it depends on the person. I wouldn't. You couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't. You over my dead body. So then
Mm.
it's like when it's not about finances and it's not about money and it's not about the things and the materialism and the this and the that. The value comes down to the experiences and the moments that you share, and because as we know, like, you can't take any of it with you. It's all
Yep.
comes and it goes, and you make money and you lose money, and you get things and you lose things, you sell them, and you get relationships and you lose relationships, and it's at the end of the day, like, the value is like you at the end of the day.
Mm.
What have you done? What have you learned? That's the only thing you get to take.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Yeah, I'd like to adopt a pet when I have the capacity to do so. I'd love to do that. I think, yeah, relationships are very valuable to me. I think probably one of the most, like, family relationship, friend relationship. Um, yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
It's given me a lot to think about. All right, 9. We'll creeping up to this last question. Oftentimes, DJs have a song that they will play when their set doesn't seem to be working. Some sort of get out of jail free song, so to speak. Do you have one of these songs as a DJ yourself that just works every time? And if so, track ID, bro, what is it?
uh, I'm like trying to think of when I play gigs. Yeah. Um, at the
Yeah, that's
club.
so true.
Um,
All of us DJs been sitting on our hands for 2 years, but yeah.
uh-huh.
Well, you've been
No,
DJing a
what's a
while. You
track?
must have
What's a tune
something where you're
that
like the
always works?
crowd is just dead, and you're just like, oh, you're throwing everything at you, like, oh, this one, and you put it on, and it's like sparks are flying, heads are rolling.
Um, well, I mean, I'll say it depends on the crowd, as always. Like, that's also
Very
part
true.
of being a DJ, is being like, in some contexts, I makes me think of like this time I played a beach party in Zipolites, this nudist beach in Oaxaca in Mexico, and it was a crowd I really never played for before. These are like sort of bohemian traveler beach bum, you know, uh, uh Goa
I know
adjacent
the type
people. Yeah, it's a specific type.
somehow.
Yeah, I think we've all probably met a few in our day, but there's a
I
high
might just be
concentration of them
one.
there. Yeah, adjacent. I could be a little adjacent myself, but I was playing this, and it was just a trippy thing because it was like 11 p.m. and I was like playing my like clubby whateverness, and it just was not connecting. They were on the beach, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, whatever. And the guy comes up, and because and I kind of knew this because the people before was like they were already playing like harder, like dark psy
Oh,
stuff at
right.
like, you know, like 145, 150
Mm-hmm.
easily, dun, 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 kind of thing.
Oh, no, too
And
well.
yeah, well, yeah, especially down in Australia,
Oh
but
gosh, love
so
it.
I was like, okay. So yeah, I just ended up playing, like, I just went super hard and was playing like 170, like hard tech and gabber and all types of stuff. And it at a
Yeah.
beach. It was just like the weirdest, and people just started going insane, for it. They were losing their minds, and just wanting it more. I was like, really? You want to go harder? Like, everyone's like, yeah, like, just like, eating it up. So it's just kind of like, yeah, like, you never
Oh, shit.
really you ever really know. um One track though that I think will always and forever go off is this tune that Jordan Teleself made with a friend of mine, other friend of ours, Yasif, and that one we put out on the Felt Presence record.
Mhm.
It's a tune called Mindfold, and that song, yeah, like, it's fucking timeless. Like, it's just a rave destroyer. So if you it's it's like things are kind of amplified, you know what I mean, like cruising along, when you put that one on, like the dance floor will just jam up. just pack
Well,
up, like, because it's just undeniable the amount of energy in the tune. So
Mindfold
that's probably the
by
one. Mindful
Mindfold
by
by
Teleself and Yasef, yeah, Yahceph. So it's a banger.
YAH.
Ceph.
Definitely going to check that one out. All right, we have the last question slash prompt, number
Mm-hmm.
10. Would you like to take this opportunity to tell someone that you love them? If so, who?
Aw. Aw. Um. Well, I want to say that I love you, Jamie. I think
Oh,
that this is really beautiful, and I'm so grateful for our connection and for the people listening out there. Jamie and I connected at a in a very off the wall internety way of just suddenly DMing. I saw him post a comment on a mix that I had done and went to his page and just had a good vibe. And we within like 20 minutes we were like WhatsApp video calling. We ended up video calling, I think, that night for like 2 or 3 hours, just getting on about all types of stuff. And literally at the end, which is, I love this part of the story, is like at the end of this call, I had booked a month-long trip to go to New Zealand in June of this year, which
in the middle of the
unfortunately, in the
pandemic.
middle of the pandemic, we were like, we're gonna do a
Oh,
road trip.
shit.
We're gonna do a
Yeah,
road trip and play shows in New Zealand, Australia,
yeah,
and with the hope that that could have happened. Obviously, the world had other plans.
yeah.
But the fact that we were both so like gung ho about just pulling the trigger on something so crazy like that, was just a testament to, this connection. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it. And yeah, to to everyone else listening in, um you know there's a special somebody in my life right now. I won't blow up her spot, but I love you too a lot, and I'm excited to see where things go. And I love so many people. I love everybody. I love my friends. I'm in love with I'm in love with life, and that's why I haven't thrown in the towel yet. And I won't, because there's too much to love and not enough time to love it all.
Good answer, man. I'm feeling the love. Thank you. And yeah, this was a really valuable way to spend the last, what are we, 2 hours, 3 hours? I don't have a, oh wait, what are we? Yeah, we're getting on to 3 hours, two
Love
hours,
it.
40 minutes. That was a really valuable way to spend my time. Love you too, bro. And yeah, big things coming. We're still going to get that New Zealand, Australia tour popping. Like it's just been postponed. That's all.
Well, of course, my dude. Of course. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, James, and I can't wait to see you in person
Oh yeah.
soon.